The hidden rite of the border, a ritual of blood and illusion. Today, under the scorched sun of California's southern threshold, what seemed to be another chaotic headline about border security was, in truth, the outward face of a ritual older than the republic itself. Donald Trump, the returned patriarch of a fractured empire, once more raised the border card, a talismanic weapon forged not of policy, but of fear, identity, and sacrificial power. To the sleeping masses, it is politics. To the awakened, it is a rite, part psychological operation, part occult theater, designed not to solve, but to stoke, to feed the machine that hungers not for votes, but for chaos and obedience. In secret lodge rooms lined with obsidian symbols and veiled portraits of the 33rd Flame, elite architects of the American illusion gathered, not to debate policy, but to engineer polarity. They understand that every immigrant who suffers, every child who cries out from fence cage, feeds the astral ledger that governs public emotion. For Trump, the immigrant is no mere political pawn. He is the scapegoat upon which a new mythos is written. Beneath the public stage, far beyond the cameras, the ritual continues, the offering of the foreign body to the flame of national purity. In silence, they call this the rite of the divided soil. Trump's invocations, broadcast in fiery speeches and veiled in theatrical rage, are not random. They are incantations drawn from the invisible book of the national flesh, crafted by those in lodges bearing names the public shall never know. The Order of Iron Liberty, the seal of the Crossed Republic, and the 49th Vault. These are not political factions. They are the true continuity of power, where Democrats and Republicans alike are mere veils. California today is the veil's fracture point. Beneath its sun-kissed landscape lies a buried temple of intention, a convergence point where psychic energy of division has been siphoned since the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Every migrant who walks the desert trail, unaware, reenacts a Masonic echo, a path of fire, water, and death. It is not their bodies they seek, but their essence. Their despair is currency, their suffering a sacrament. As Trump manipulates the narrative of the border, he does not do so alone. Behind him, always, is the circle of the fourth column, financiers and handlers who wear no flag, who move between Geneva, Tel Aviv, and Langley with passports that bear no seals. Their purpose? Not victory, but perpetual crisis. The migrant is the eternal mirror through which the American psyche sees its fear. And thus, the wall is not built of stone, but of memory, myth, and manipulated trauma. Yet beyond the headlines, there was a signal today, a brief moment in the borderlands. A migrant boy, dead before arrival, bore on his skin a mark, ancient and untranslatable. It matched a glyph found etched in an 18th century Pike manuscript labeled the Phoenix Directive. In the lodge circles, the mark is known simply as the seal of the returning god. They are frightened now, for sacrifice, when abused, awakens that which sleeps beneath the system. The elite feed on blood, but the soil remembers. And in the end, when the great lodge falters, and the migrant becomes more than myth, it will not be Trump who rules, but the forgotten child of the border, who will unmask the whole charade. His voice will echo not through microphones, but through the collapse of their rights. And the final lodge will fall, not by revolution, but by the return of that which was cast out long ago. The next sacrifice, the theater of ash and flags. In the hidden cadence of Pike's forbidden tone, the wheel turns. The fire is not yet sated. As the headlines scream of migrant surges and border militarization, the true altar is being set, not on the earth, but in the collective psyche of the nation. The architects, cloaked not in robes, but in legislative immunity and silicon halos, now prepare the second offering in what is whispered within the vaulted chambers as the Ascension Protocol. The first rite, the rite of the divided soil, was blood poured on sand. The second shall be fire drawn into law. Mark these words: a child will disappear, not merely lost, but ritually erased, his name redacted, his image immortalized in split-second news cycles. A migrant child, born of no official records, carrying in his bloodline a lineage that traces back to a pre-Columbian solar priesthood, a threat to the great synthetic narrative. This child, the veiled son, carries within his unconscious something the elite cannot allow to survive, a memory of the border before the nation, a sacred geometry buried in language older than English or Spanish or conquest itself. He is not a symbol. They have those already. He is a counter-frequency. Trump, knowingly or not, will become a megaphone for this second right. His return to power is not simply political. It is ritualistic recursion, the return of the dominus persona to complete what was begun. When he steps onto the soil near El Paso in the coming weeks, flanked by faux militia and drones overhead, the new sacrifice will be sealed. The speech will call for total sovereignty. Behind that phrase, in the code of the lodges, is the command for a psychic firewall, to erase the divine traces carried by the immigrant path. But beware, in the shadows, an unlisted lodge has begun to fracture. Known only as the Hollow Tooth, its members are defectors, those who once drew the maps of surveillance, who wrote the scripts of televised rage, but who now seek the child. They believe that if the ritual completes, if the sacrifice is made beneath the Rite constellation, beneath the hidden black sun of July 27th, the border will not only become a prison, but a mirror realm, a place where the soul of America is inverted forever. Their next move, then, is twofold. Crisis by design, a mass event staged on both sides of the border wall. Explosions blame division. Trump will claim it was the foreign sleeper cells, the Democrats will flail, and the global elite will gain exactly what they need: permission to finalize the surveillance grid known as Project VNTH, the border goddess system of total biometric control. Inverted pilgrimage. Migrants will be bussed, flown, and herded by both sides, in a sacred geometrical zones marked unknowingly by old Spanish missions. These are not places of faith, but echo chambers of forgotten blood, built atop burial sites of tribal seers. The sacrifice must happen here. For the grid to be completed, the soul of a child must be sealed inside a structure of law, not stone. And so, the lodge waits. The child is hunted. The world watches headlines while the Rite unfolds beneath their feet. But they forget something crucial. Sacrifice alters the air. Too much blood awakens that which was meant to sleep. A third force, unspoken, ancient, born before both capital and pyramid, rises now from the bones of the border. It has no name, only vibration. Some in the lodge call it the return of the obsidian witness. It cannot be bribed. It cannot be caged. And when the final sacrifice is made, when the child screams, not in pain, but in revelation, the border will crack. The desert will remember its gods. And the nation will face not judgment, but disintegration. Silence will follow. Then the truth. And those who rule behind flags and gold will be devoured by the very myth they tried to control.